Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Welcome to Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community here on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing amazing things for San Diego for over 60 years. If you've been listening to Drew for the last 18 years, you know immediately I am not Drew Schlosberg. I am Charles Parisi with Cloudcast Media. But fortunately, to help fly the airplane is his usual co-pilot, the one and only Kristen Fogel.
True story.
Kristen, here we are, another Friday morning.
Here we are, last interview of the day. I'm feeling kind of nervous.
Yeah, this one is going to be incredible because I know our next guest so well.
That's what you were saying.
Incredible. We spend lots of time talking, not in a podcast format, almost every day. Sometimes on weekends it'll be hours.
Nice.
But I am so happy to introduce yet again to the show. She's been here before. Is the one and only Cheryl Morrow, co-founder and president of the Morrow Inheritance, and also the successor and publisher of San Diego Monitor News. Cheryl, how great it is to be with you on a Friday.
Absolutely. Friday.
Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And listen, the audience is about to, we sometimes talk for hours, Chris.
This is what you've said.
So we're going to try to squeeze this into a half-hour episode.
No promises, but you know.
So we'll do our best to kind of wrap it into Drew's usual format of a 30-minute segment. We might go a little over time. You know, we'll see what happens because there's just so many things to talk about because this is one of the iconic families. The Morrow family is one of the iconic, most successful families in San Diego, and a story, honestly, that isn't told enough. So to me, every opportunity to be here in any of our shows and Spotlight is an incredible opportunity to dispense incredible information for the community. So let's just kind of get into it. Hey, Cheryl, let me start by asking you a question because you're in the world of media. Mm-hmm. We're a local media company, only 5 years old. You've been doing it longer. Give us a real quick feel. What's the state of media in San Diego and today, or in America? Where are we?
Well, I was having that conversation this morning. And I say to people that, and I have to talk about it from obviously a Black perspective, right? And so, we're constantly defining, trying to be productive, right? And innovative, disruptive too. And I say to my audience and community that Black news is not something that's just owned by a Black person, right? Or let's just say you're progressive and you want to say, regardless of what ethnicity you are, and just because that particular owner may be Black, or even if the publisher talks about Black people, that's not Black news. Black news is Black interest. Let's say your demographic. Let's say you have Vogue. Vogue has a audience, and you meet that audience's interest. And so that means that every piece of content is moving them forward or provoking a new concept or perception or thought in that reader's mind, right? And if your product does not do that, then you don't have the best interest of that demographic. And just because you are of certain ethnicity does not necessarily you're serving that, your reader, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheryl, take me back because I don't know much. What was kind of going on at the time? Like, what kind of precipitated you wanting to get into the media sphere, specifically with San Diego Monitor News?
Oh, one, my dad told me to.
Well, there you go. Open, close.
And,
Yeah.
and who might your dad be?
The late great Willie L. Morrow.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Willie L. Morrow.
Absolutely. And I kind of morphed into it because my father allowed me to come as I came back from 19 winters of the Big Apple, and actually all 19 in Harlem, in Manhattan, on the island, Manhattan Island, not the boroughs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I came back as a stakeholder. I was very successful in New York, and I have my last name to thank for that, being in beauty. But I came back, and he allowed me to be that intrapreneur. And so I swam my way around, and I went to the private label, to California Curl Part. I went, all around, right? And so he let me do that. And so just in an entrepreneurial way, I kind of ended there. Not probably, as by choice, but it just ended up that way.
Yeah.
Well, I can't let you get any further because you mentioned one of my favorite words. And I'd like to hear you expand on it, and you maybe share what Dr. Morrow's thoughts would have been. Great entrepreneurs are almost always great intrapreneurs, but not a lot of people use that word. You just did. Talk about that. Yeah. What is it? What is in fact an intrapreneur?
Their personalities get to work under the tutelage of the founder, the visionary, the chairman, and the CEO. You don't really have the responsibilities yet. And so you get to tinker, and that's the best phase, in my opinion, right? Because leading is just not mental. It's a body wisdom, right? It's when to do it. It's kind of, you have to not only psychologically be present, but you have to be present. Your body gives you prompts as well as your mental state gives you prompts, right? And you kind of know when people need something or don't need something. You kind of know, but that takes practice, right? And it just doesn't come natural to you just because you have a title.
Yeah.
And then I begin to actually settle. I remember some of the staff would say and tease me about, oh yeah, you're really in charge. And they would pass that along. But when you don't understand being under a master, that's not good to kind of, especially a father. It's not really good to allow people to, I don't know if it's a form of disrespect. I don't know it's that, because they don't mean any ill will when they say it. But a daughter or a child or your daughter or your son has to know when that is a backhanded compliment. It's almost like the first law of 48 laws of power: don't outshine the master. Because you don't want to start the contention, because you are trying to extract everything out of that leader.
Yeah.
So you want it given to you in a way that endears them, instead of the contention with what happens when most successors and predecessors begin to, especially if there's male. And so I had the advantage of being a girl, so it's different. And I looked like my father, and I talked like my father. So it was very easy to transfer power when you looking at your sire and they look just like you and they're copying and that love affair. It's different with fathers and daughters.
The conversations with Cheryl, Kristen, you never know where they're going to lead. It's just a matter of kind of just flowing and vibing and digging in. So you're hitting on something. I want you to share something, Cheryl. And Kristen, this is a really great visual. I've already used it because I listen and, I try to use it with young people. Because when you have an opportunity to model someone, mimic them, be mentored by them. Absolutely. You talked about you have to be humble. And you created this visual for me with a pitcher of water. Can you tell our audience what you shared with me about that humbleness and what position do you need to be in to accept that wisdom?
I'm going to say something. I think women are a little predispositioned to do it a little better because we can we have a little more grace in our stooping, maybe a little more nobility in it, maybe. But I also admired my dad. And so I got introduced with being in such a reverence of people who were good at what they did. And I don't think also in my family we were allowed, we were taught to kind of, there was perfume I couldn't wear just because I wasn't old enough. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you wait and you train a dog. You train your pet, but you're not trying to be mean to them, but you're trying to get them to understand that there is a time.
Yeah.
And so, but when you can understand that and that it's, you get to kind of can't wait to get in the company of people who are so much more savvy and better at what they do. And because you are secure in the world, because of that slow, patient kind of waiting, kind of the way my parents raised us, you weren't intimidated. You were quite secure. And so I will say that that's an easy segue into humbleness. Because you know that you may not be in the ranks of those who you are, but they invite you in. So you're with them, but you're not their elk, so to speak. And so I was able to move in that energy, even in New York, even in 3,000 miles away, out of the nucleus of energy of my family. And so I was taught to, if you want something from somebody, make them want to give it to you.
Yeah.
And by that time, and be so useful that when I left, they were like spazzing out, like, what am I going to do without you? Like, you carried my bag so well. Do you know how many? I remember the Russian tea room. And what
57th Street.
Oh my God. You don't get an invitation to sit around peers, right? At the Russian tea room. That's a place for people who have very important meetings and blah. Just because I was a humble servant, really, I was at tables that I shouldn't actually have been at, because that was maybe it was rare. And I really tell my mentees today, please understand a phase and be in posture to be able to just get poured on. But, me and you, Charles, talk about it all the time. The posture of being poured in, you can't be parallel or over someone. They don't pour up, they pour down. And it's not that you're trying to be less. You're not less. It is gravity It's just the natural gravity of a grasshopper and sensei.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you grew up in a very good boundaried sort of household, where everything wasn't just given to you. You know what I mean? Which is fantastic. Yeah. Sometimes you don't see a lot of that,
it's a not yet kind of parenting. It's not no.
Right. It's
it's
a not yet, and it's things have to be earned.
Right. And it's when your authority says when. Mm-hmm. So your authority is not saying no. Mm-hmm. They're just telling you when you can. And they're actually looking out for you.
Absolutely.
Because they don't want you to fail.
Yeah.
They're
you
just
don't learn the lessons either that way by just being given everything, right? You gotta
and given everything at the wrong time.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's more important.
Yeah.
Well, it was Cheryl said earlier, Kristen, that she loved her dad. She admired her dad. She looks like her dad. She sounds like her dad. And I know her dad's very proud of her. But let me just say this, because I want the audience to know this. We're talking about, Dr. Willie Morrow. And Cheryl, correct me if I get any of my history wrong, but this man came to San Diego from Tuscaloosa, Alabama in 1957. I believe it was on a Greyhound bus, and found his way to the West Coast. And as he likes to talk about, with his own hands, he built a fortune, a multi-industry fortune, but started by working with his hands in a barber shop. And the trajectory from there is almost hard to fathom. But 2 years ago, when the world lost Dr. Morrow, just to give you a feel for impact, the Today Show, which is one of the longest running TV shows in the country, the Today Show did a segment on Dr. Willie Morrow on his passing. And I would encourage everyone to go pull it up, or else we can put it on our social media and a link to their profile on Dr. Morrow, because it's an incredible, incredible story of ascent, which leads us to Cheryl Morrow. So Cheryl, you've inherited all this legacy, and you have that powerful Morrow name behind you, but it also presents probably challenges. What are some of the challenges you have to navigate as you continue to build, grow, and we're going to hear about some new things you're bringing out? So what are some of the challenges you've had because of this incredible legacy and greatness?
Can I also add, can someone, for those who may not be aware of his legacy, just give a few amazing bullet points? Because Charles was talking to me earlier and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I didn't know right off the bat. Yeah. So I just want people listening to know some of those things and be like, oh my God.
He put his beloved San Diego on the map. And besides Alabama, when he left, San Diego's has been his only city he's ever lived. And as he departed, so San Diego literally was his home. He never wanted to go into any other city. And so San Diego is on the map as his, as Black beauty, Black hair care's Silicon Valley. And so some of the most pivotal innovations came out of the U.S. military bases in San Diego. And even expanding out of his curriculum called Curly Cues, that was actually the magazine and the books and manuals. So San Diego became his photo studio, and where everyone became, models. Some of the greatest San Diegos are in some of those books, textbooks, barber books, and shaving books. And so, he didn't outsource anything. It's all the models, everybody came from San Diego. They weren't fashion models. They weren't anything he wanted. He would use the homeless. And you would go between 47th Street, right, and downtown San Diego. You had the best homeless people with the best hairdos. all the homeless people's hair was done. They either was cut or it was curl. They were well shaven. And so because, of course, so his joke was when he would see someone's hair undone or uncut, right? He would say, come here. Let me use your head since you're not using it.
It's so funny you mention that because, I spent a lot of time with Father Joe's Villages working in the homeless community. Father Joe, he may have learned this from Dr. Morrow. He was fastidious about haircuts. So we perform those services for, he says it's amazing what a difference a haircut
absolutely
and dental care can make on a human being.
Absolutely.
So Father Joe built a dental clinic.
Yes, because it's pride. It's pride. The moment you can do something hygienic or beauty, to beautify and style a person, that's when at that point, one of my favorite things to see on YouTube was Tom Ford's partnership with GQ magazine, and he takes these men, even in one was an artist, one was a restaurateur, one was just anybody, and he said, just by changing your dress, now instead of owning one restaurant, the moment I redress you, you feel like you can own a string of restaurants. And so fashion hair, and Dr. Morrow, he believed that, all things are possible once you feel like they can.
Yeah.
Right? And so San Diego was put on that map, just to give you a brief history. But Black Panthers, San Diego Black Panthers were the only ones who actually officially wore afros. That was different, that they would go up to their headquarters and maybe their yearly meetings and up to Oakland or Chicago or whatever. And San Diego Black Panthers would have these perfect round, cut fresh, and their the hair on their face would be, all these little designs that, Mr. Morrow would. So it was different from Black people in San Diego during the mid-'60s. And so the Afro comb was created, the commercial commerce, the Afro capital, the capitalism, started in San Diego, as we, of course, go into what we call California curl and better known as Jerry curl. And all of that stuff in technology came out of San Diego. And so, but to answer your question, Charles, I didn't realize how, I don't even know where to start. I'm just saying, if I wanted to continue a legacy, like, where do you start? Do you start with the books? Do you start with the exhibits? Do you start with all the collectibles? Do you start with, films and documentaries? Do you start, with expanding product brands? What do you do? And I can actually say.
And by the way, I just stop you there for a second. There's been a film. There's been a museum exhibit on Dr. Morrow. So all of these, there's been books.
Yeah.
So all of these things have taken place.
Yeah. And so, and here's the thing. So there's a documentary coming out on the curl. And so they called American Curl. And so, but it's all of the subsequent people. And here's another component. Dr. Morrow believed, and it's so funny how we having problems with the word DEI today, because I live in a house, now that I'm renovating it, I'm living in a house that is Japanese architecture. Right? That the reason why that house is Japanese architecture is because of all of the years he spent in traveling Asia, because we had a lot of military bases at that time. But because of the camaraderie and the learning and the exposure and the time that he stayed there, and every part of his life, somehow he wanted to dedicate to some part of, to be able to thank that culture for sharing with him. So I live in Japanese Mazar architecture. Then and then just the Mexican country that taught him various chemistry and just a whole array of different cultures. I don't think that there's one culture he didn't touch that had a lot to do. So when you're talking about figures, even in the movie, so now I got to say, you're talking about 50 different characters that were so pivotal. And so that it's not even just getting into my dad's memoirs, so to speak. No, it's different cultures and a bunch of people that I have to take into consideration, because now after this, I'm going down to San Ysidro because our cone makers that he's had for over 65 years, it's the same person. It's it's the son. So me and the son are deciding where we want to take Mr. Morrow's mold, because I have to keep maintaining that part of the business. So it's it's a lot.
Well, that's a great segue, because here you are with you've got the C. Morrow Inheritance.
Yeah.
And you talked about, where do I begin? So where have you chosen to begin and relaunch something?
Yeah. And let me just say this before I answer that question. I had to shift mentally from being second fiddle. Being number two and trying to be number one and centering things around you is it's weird, especially when it's your dad, because everything is because he existed. So, and it's a blessing. But I will say, I think it's harder to make something different than make something from originality.
Yeah.
So now I get to, and the reason why I call it C. Morrow Inheritance, because it's just my spin on something I inherited. And I'm also wanting to teach that is, that's what we have to do as a culture, just to be able to be a part of the economic force in the Western world as African American people, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I love the name. I think the C. Morrow Inheritance.
Yeah.
Because again, you're not really just talking about these physical products that you inherited. You inherited so much more.
Oh, absolutely. Which is the best thing. And that's why if you're going to be trying to be, a progenitor, you better make sure that you got more than one kid. Because I can tell you right now, they don't all get the very thing that you want them to have to be able to carry on your stuff. The possessions is the last thing that your real progenitor is going to be thinking about. Or your successor is going to be thinking about. If your successor is thinking about, shucks, like, how do I duplicate, like the way he moves his head, and wow, how does he think, and what is she, mom doing? Forget the possessions. You have to kind of almost hope that your kid kind of inherits your ethos, which is so much more important, because everything else is kind of easy from there. If they've got your passion and your ethos, and they don't even have to have your passion per se, just the respect of a Tiffany ring. If they just have the respect of saying, wow, now I know why they did it quite like that. Wow, okay. So I've got to keep that up. Not, if they have the respect, just certain things that you hope. So that's why I named it.
No, I love it, because you're so correct in terms of what you want. You hope your kids take away. And one of the really funny thing is, we're talking about this because, my daughter extraordinarily well. It's one of the things that's frustrating as a parent because you never actually know, because we're not going to be around to see it, if they in fact absorbed the most critical things we want them to inherit, because we're gone. You're never.
The only way you're going to know, right?
Well, you want that ethos to.
Well, the thing is that the progenitor has to get out of the know when to leave the party while they're basically healthy, so they can be there to kind of poke you the right way and poke you in the right direction and hold your hand. You don't want to pass something on when you're not able to get that call, because, you know, if you slam the phone on your kid and tell them to work it out, you know, 9 times out of 10, you can call them back and say, okay, how did that work out? Okay, let's fix it. if it doesn't. But when you can't, and let me just say this, I had some of my last conversations with my dad. I remember I was trying to figure out a vendor, right? And it was a very important vendor to one of the parts of his blow dryer comb that he invented, the comb that goes on the blow dryer.
Yeah.
Right? And he just yells out. And he just kind of pulls me closer with his finger, tells me to come here. And he says, Minneapolis. He says, start with Minneapolis. It's the company in Minneapolis. I said, okay. And I got on that phone to looking for those parts, and bang, wasn't that old dude right? And I says, wow, how did he remember that? But thank God he did, because I knew, you know, and it's just, you have to be, you don't have to leave the building, but leave the party, you know, and give me the reins why, you know, I can kind of screw it up. And,
it's at every point, someone, if you're taking flying lessons, at some point you do have to fly the plane.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you got to, you know, hopefully you can give them a heart attack, you know, until they, and you're like, okay, all right. You felt the moment of fear, but you knew I was right there, but you got it. I need you to be able to feel that so you'll know what to do, because at the end of the day, they are not going to be there. But my dad had, I can say my dad had winged me early off, and I never forget, he bought me this pink bike. And it was a girly bike. It was pretty. And he would come home from the barbershop and he would be my training wheels, right? And so, and I was just going down the road. I was just going, and so it was about, I would say about 2 or 3 times, Charles. Man, it was that third time, and he got up, and I never forget, and he said, Cheryl, yeah, Daddy, I'm not going to be your training wheels anymore. I thought that was the worst thing he could have ever said, and he meant it. He said, crash and burn. Do whatever you got to do. But Daddy is not going to be your training wheels anymore. So you got to, you know, get on out there. And I thought I was heartbroken. But Crescent Drive, Emerald Hills, I think that was 1974.
Thank you for sharing that detail, because Krista makes fun of me because I always go back and like, tell me where this took place. Okay, you already nailed it. Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Crescent Drive, where all the African-American, you know, homeowners lived. It was called Emerald Hills. And yeah, Crescent Drive, going down the street. He planned.
How old were you, did you say?
1974. I was 5.
Okay, at what age did you figure out what he meant?
Recently. You know, and let me just say this: I am not ashamed to say any of that, because me and my dad, we're in one Saturday, and I was so worried about whatever my problem was. And he says to me, baby, look. Don't worry about it. My brain just cut on about 2 years ago. He says, I'm 70 something. And he says, don't worry about it. Your brain really doesn't cut on about 70. And I said, damn, Dad, really? He was like, really? Oh, so 60 is the new? Yeah, I'm telling you right now, you don't really get it together until about 70. Yeah. So you got a long way to go. Just don't worry about it. Just chill out. Yeah, like 50 something. And even when he said 60, you're just about getting nice and settled in. 70, he said it cuts on. Boom.
Nice. I got a little time left. By the way, for our listeners, Cheryl was pointing to our associate producer Brandon Joe, not me, when she said he's still got a lot of time left.
Yeah, make no mistake.
Yeah. So sometime with a video podcast, the audience would have seen it, but this is just audio, so I had to point that out. That Brandon, you do have a lot of time left. So Cheryl, talk to us now about. You're working on something.
Yeah.
Got something new. I think you already have a name for it. I may have seen a little packaging.
Well, right. The C. Morrow Inheritance is I'm taking all of what I inherited and I am revamping it, disrupting some industry models. Mm-hmm. For instance, I don't like the shelf. And neither do customers. I think customers hate going shopping for beauty products. They have no idea. Not really.
Yeah.
Not really do they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
What to buy. And they're just as confused because they probably, I'm just going to say it's bullshit. You don't really know what, I'll be more label conscious and do this and you don't know. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather create what we call cosmetic couture, right? Mm-hmm. And so since I do, I'm going to make it just for you. Mm-hmm. And so we will be customizing shampoos, things for you, according to what I see and what we talk about, the results you want. And then we tweak it once you take it home. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do it because you already go to the pharmacy. You already go to places that really get your milligrams or, you may take some ibuprofen, but some people want 300 milligrams and the other one wants 800 milligrams of vitamin C. You don't ever have to take everything. And there's not one beauty manufacturer that knows everybody's hair.
Right.
And so it's more of an apothecary kind of approach.
Cool.
And so, and I just said, and I don't want to compete. I want to dominate. And so I am putting it in homes instead of on shelves. And so you're buying my expertise instead of buying just a random bottle.
Yeah.
And that's one way of disrupting that. And then you get a much better texture. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more potent. It doesn't, it's not been sitting there for 2 years and you don't know where it's been. And so that's one way. But also the unwrapping and kind of experience you want with your tools. And just trying to put more serotonin, and more oxytocin in the unwrapping kind of relationship with something that you're trusting to make you look beautiful.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I just want to have more fun with probably some of my dad's writings and mix with some of mine, right? And just put it probably much more in some micro magazines and some wonderful fashionable lookbooks that you can attach to. And because I spent 19 years in New York, and you can't spend any time in New York without getting the fashion bug.
Sure.
you know?
Yeah.
And I like the blending of beauty and fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that my predecessors have not done a good job at that. And I think the experience of hair care has been very drugstore. It's just been very necessity and not a lot of jewel factor. And so I'm going to mix those two worlds and bring back that jewel factor. And so when you open up your product, you're going to feel like you made a good purchase.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
By the way, it's called the, you can't spend a lot of time around Charles without becoming really good at wordsmithing.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
So it's called the C-suite.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, I tell you, I'm so looking forward to seeing what's happening.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're going to be a guinea pig.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I love it. Well, see, here's what's really fascinating too, because Cheryl and I have these conversations all the time.
Oh, you too.
We live in
Me three.
Yeah, okay. Right.
So here's one of my dreams, and Cheryl and I talk about this. We live in one of the great life sciences and scientific communities in the world. Biotech galore, UCSD, one of the greatest science institutions globally renowned. So think about this. It's one of the birthplaces of life sciences in this country, and it's clearly one of the birthplaces of hair care.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about how do we get more and more young people engaged with STEM and science,
Oh, my God.
I believe we teach through things like this. So it's the science of hair care, the science of even podcasting, everything, the science of one's brain. You can learn more about your brain. You're probably better at managing your own feelings and emotions.
Absolutely.
So one of my dreams is there's two things that I really like to see happen. One, a course built, called The Science of Hair Care. And I'd love to make that happen with the C. Morrow Inheritance, because that's one of the great inheritances. I think your dad was ultimately, you talk about it a lot, he was a scientist.
No, at his
He
heart.
was constantly experimenting. He experimented on her hair, by the way. Well, until her mom put an end to it.
I got the pictures to show it. In fact, to the day he became an ancestor, it was like, don't tell your mom that I was messing with your hair.
So he was a scientist. So one of the things that
My mother made it very clear. She made it very clear. You can experiment on me, but if you touch my kids, we are gonna have a problem.
So he was a tinkerer. He was hands-on. He was a scientist. And I think one of the things that needs to happen for San Diego to literally two origin stories using your words, life sciences, hair care here in San Diego. And we need to build a course called The Science of Hair Care. Now you're going to get kids really interested in science without actually forcing some old textbook down them for this digitally native generation. So there's two things I want to see happen with the C. Morrow Inheritance at Cloudcast Media is one, The Science of Hair Care, an actual standards-aligned California curriculum. That's number one. And number two is I have the pleasure of working out of Atlanta, as Cheryl knows, another city she has spent time in. And I've had the ability, lucky me, to somehow immediately get to know the Russell family, one of the truly pioneers, iconic families that built Atlanta, financed the civil rights movement, Pascal's, Martin Luther King.
Oh, my God.
And they've got an incredible entrepreneurship center in Atlanta called the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurship. Listen, Willie Morrow is H.J. Russell. And there needs to be a Morrow Entrepreneurship Center in San Diego. So I think this whole community needs to hear this, understand who Dr. Willie Morrow, the Morrow family, because entrepreneurship is the DNA of America.
Absolutely.
Okay. And we need to foster entrepreneurial thinking, entrepreneurial action, access to knowledge, capital, everything, close some of the gaps related to the building of wealth in this country. And to me, we got to make it happen,
it's so
Cheryl.
funny. So I get the call, right? And I get this call, and they're saying, we've got to bring the curl back. And I would not, and of course now I've got, about 30 big binders of formulas, right? And these formulas were actually walked in to make companies like Soft Sheen and Dudley and World Curls and all of these Proline and all these big companies, right? And I'm thinking, because one of the most thing that most people don't understand, you know, the in the movies you would hear about Jerry curl and you would hear about the wet and curl activator and how black people, you know, but there was a bigger era afterwards, and it was the dry version of it, and that's the formula that we got to do it again. We got to do it again, and that is, to me, if I were to start that over, I would want to start it with young people. And somehow, because that's, you're talking about billions at that point, because now the natural hair care world wants to now, okay, we've been natural. We want to do something else. And it's here. And no one's got any ideas. And so I think I got to go back in one of those binders and get one of those real good formulations out, you know, and let's just say, hey, well, this is my era.
Yeah, I mean, you're also seeing this like preoccupation with 70s and 80s clothes, fashion. I mean, I saw Christina Ricci the other day on Yellow Jackets, and I was like, I want big glasses and a perm. You know what I mean? I was like, that's hot. Like, it's so ridiculous. I want to rock that right now. So, like, you're coming in at a good era where all of that stuff is coming back. You know, like all the wide leg jeans. You know, that we're wearing. You know,
I had a couple of customers that says, "Can you give me a Jew fro?" And I says, "Look, let's just call it the Barbra Streisand." Okay?
Yeah.
That's just because Barbra Streisand, I don't care. She had the most elegant afro probably of that era. It made Donna Summer was like, damn, how did you get
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was absolutely wonderful. But hey, I it's back on 74, baby.
Yeah.
But the 70s will not be back until disco comes back, Cheryl Morrow.
It's coming.
One thing at a time.
Well, wait a minute.
You gotta get the hair. You gotta get the hair first.
Europe is already there.
Yeah.
You check out their DJ playlist. They're already
so we're not far behind.
Funk and disco.
Yeah.
They're already there. It's I think it's a resurgence.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant. I think C-Suite's brilliant too. You know, like I don't know shit about hair. I'm just, you know, I'm an old ass millennial who's trying to like get some recommendations off of, you know, online. But like
I got you, girl.
But that customization part is really key, right? Because you know
they're not making it for you.
Yeah, that chick that's on there, they don't, you know.
Coming up with like this general thing. And if you can come in, if I can call you and say, your product is ready.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it. You already told me your challenges.
Right.
I'm going to give you my expert formulation. Let's do a little, let's give you a little humectant. Let's give you a little bit of sheen. Let's give you a little bit of this.
This is greasy. This is not 20-year-old hair.
And we'll tone it down.
So I can't even like, you know.
Can you imagine saying, you know, she doesn't like this. Let's do 10%, maybe a little less on, you know, the oil.
Right.
And you have it.
Yeah.
In 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But what difference does it make? And you go home, it's packed, and you go home and you go out of the door and you feel like you just went to the Tiffany's of beauty.
For sure. I love it.
Cheryl, first of all, this was fantastic. And I'm going to tell you because Kristen's never met you. And I can tell how much Kristen is enjoying this conversation.
Well, yeah, too. And also, what you failed to mention is I'm the ED of Writers Inc. So everybody's stories, like I think the story is so amazing.
Come on. Why didn't you say mention who Kristen
She is,
is?
in fact, the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc.
The title doesn't mean anything. The point is like I'm just story obsessed.
You're a storyteller. No question about it. So again,
yeah.
you got to partner with us in helping tell some of these stories.
For sure.
And create some curriculum that'll be really engaging for young people.
And two, you want kids to be able to, you know, and I like to put P in the word STEM, right? Mm-hmm. You want it to accumulate to a product. Mm-hmm. So that you want to take it home and say, Mom, I thought about it. I designed it. I put some architecture to it. I put some marketing to it. I think I can and then they get to take it home. Because one of the things that my father used to always do, I never understood why he had to package and take his product home. And he would sit it on the counter. And it's almost like he had to, you know, keep it in his hand and make it real to him in his mind. So he thought of it, he got it, and he put it out, and then now he's got it, and he's bringing it back home. And he was really weird about and why he would just package it all up. And he was only going home. I mean, he was only going 5 minutes away from his office, but he had to carry it. And it was something like, it was a process, like a ceremonial process. Like, this didn't exist before.
Yeah.
And now it's a product. And now if I can duplicate it and blah, 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 just a whole process of what he went through to make something change people's lives. It's incredible to watch.
Yeah.
Well, Cheryl, here's what I would love to do, because first of all, thank you so much for coming into the studio. And yes, Kristen, we did another double episode, but that's okay because I think San Diego needs this. And in this case, Cheryl, you're a witness.
Yes.
She asked more questions than I did. So when
when
we went double episode, Kristen.
I said it was going to happen. I was like, I know you by now. We're not getting out of here in time. What's time? What is time?
This is great. But so Cheryl, here's what I want to do. Here's what I'd love to do. Because I want to have you come back and let's talk a little bit more and maybe get into the science a little bit, because you're talking about something really powerful, the personalization of beauty care and hair care. And that's an unbelievably cool idea worth digging into again in terms of, because we can visualize a little 10% here, 30% here, or you could even do like hair analysis. I don't want to know now. I want to save it for another episode because that's really cool. So thank you for being here. And it has been
I always enjoy talking to you. And Kristen and the young man over here, he just, oh my God. It's just really, Brandon, just being so engaged, and thank you for, I felt welcome.
Brandon with the good hair, he's known as, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true.
Thick.
Yeah, so
I would love to get in there, hydrate it, and really make it a lot more light and fluffy, because it's very
our associate
thick.
producer, Brandon Joe, is getting a little personalized hair care attention right now from Cheryl Morrow. And this is what happens on Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community. We've had another incredible episode with Cheryl Morrow, co-founder and president of the C. Morrow Inheritance, also the successor, publisher, San Diego Monitor News. I've been so happy to fill in for Drew today. My name is Charles Spreecey with Cloudcast Media. Fortunately, with my co-pilot who usually worked with Drew, Kristen Fogel, who is the executive director and master storyteller of San Diego Writers, Inc.
It's been fun.
Cheryl, thank you so much for being here. I would like you to give us a wrap. Would you do me a favor? Would you take us home with a few words to your dad?
Well, that was light.
I know, right? Thank you for this. Thank you for being a good boss, Monday through Friday. Thank you for the Saturdays. Thank you for the Saturdays. Thank you for eating burgers and fries with me.
Thank you. You've listened to Spotlight in the Community, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing amazing things for 60 years. And we hope you keep coming back and listening to more of these magical double episodes from Drew Schlosberg, Spotlight in the Community, longest running community podcast in the country. He's been running.
You've been listening to an episode
years.
of Drew Schlosberg, Spotlight on the Community Show,
come back soon.
Amplifying the voices of social impact organizations,
Beautiful.
entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.